Silverstone delivered absolute chaos as Lando Norris claimed his first home British Grand Prix victory, capitalizing on a controversial 10-second penalty handed to his championship-leading teammate Oscar Piastri. The McLaren duo dominated headlines at the all-time record Formula One crowd of 168,000 spectators, with 500,000 fans attending across the weekend. But it was the safety car restart drama on lap 21 that completely transformed the race outcome and left Piastri seething with frustration. The rain-soaked British Grand Prix became a masterclass in wet weather racing strategy, multiple safety car interventions, and controversial steward decisions that shifted the championship battle dramatically. Norris appeared to be crying in his helmet during the slowing down lap as he described the victory as beautiful, while his teammate Piastri could barely contain his anger over what he considered an unjust penalty that cost him certain victory. The victory cuts Piastri's championship lead to just 8 points after 12 races, marking a seismic shift in the title fight. Verstappen now trails by 69 points and appears completely out of realistic contention for a 5th consecutive world crown. The McLaren teammates have established themselves as the dominant force in Formula One, with their consistently strong performances leaving Red Bull scrambling for answers. Norris secured back-to-back victories for the first time in the same season, having beaten Piastri in Austria the previous week. The emotional weight of winning at home was evident.
As Norris stated, apart from a championship, I think this is as good as it gets in terms of feelings and in terms of achievement, being proud, all of it. The last few laps, I was just looking into the crowd. I was just trying to take it all in, enjoy the moment because it might never happen again. I hope it does. But these are memories that I'll bring with me forever.
The race-defining moment arrived on lap 21 during the final safety car restart. Heavy rain had brought out the safety car twice in quick succession, with the second deployment occurring when Racing Bull's Isaac Hadjar crashed into the back of Kimi Antonelli's Mercedes in the spray. Visibility remained extremely poor as drivers bunched up behind the safety car. As Piastri prepared for the restart while leading Verstappen and the rest of the pack down the hangar straight, he slowed to build a gap to the safety car. Verstappen, partially unsighted in the wet conditions, had to take evasive action to the McLaren's right and briefly overshot the race leader before dropping back behind. The incident immediately caught the attention of race stewards who placed it under investigation. The stewards ruled that Piastri had broken the regulation demanding drivers proceed at a pace which involved no erratic braking nor any other maneuver, which is likely to endanger other drivers from the point at which the lights on the safety car are turned off. They imposed a costly 10-second penalty to be served at his next pit stop. The steward's report stated clearly, what Piastri did was clearly a breach of that article. In a seemingly unconnected but equally dramatic moment, Verstappen lost control and spun within 2 corners of the restart at the exit of Stowe Corner. The 3-time world champion plummeted from 2nd place to 10th, effectively ending any hopes of challenging for victory. Verstappen later explained he wasn't distracted by the Piastri incident, but had simply tried to accelerate and been caught out by cold tires. The spin marked another disastrous moment for Red Bull's championship hopes. Verstappen recovered to finish 5th, but his title aspirations appeared dimmer than ever, especially considering McLaren's relentless form throughout the season. The gap to Piastri now stands at 69 points with the season at its halfway point. Piastri's anger was palpable both during and after the race. The Australian expressed his displeasure over team radio, while McLaren lodged complaints with race control about the penalty decision. The championship leader was clearly frustrated, but remained diplomatically cautious in his public statements.
"I'm not going to say much because I'll get myself into trouble," Piastri said, referencing rules that allow drivers to be penalized for criticizing officials. "Apparently you can't brake behind the safety car anymore. I did it for 5 laps before that. I'm not going to say much because I'll get myself in trouble. I still like Silverstone, even if I don't like it today."
The incident carried echoes of the Canadian Grand Prix 2 races earlier, when Red Bull protested against a similar action by race winner George Russell of Mercedes, but had their protest rejected. This time, however, the stewards took decisive action against the McLaren driver. Following the penalty, Piastri attempted to build a sufficient lead over Norris to negate the 10-second time penalty. However, he could only maintain a gap of around 3 seconds throughout the crucial middle stint. The pressure intensified as Piastri realized the penalty would likely cost him victory. When Piastri made his pit stop on lap 44 to switch to dry tires, the 10-second penalty was served first in the McLaren pit box before the tire change could take place. Norris inherited the race lead and maintained his advantage after making his penalty-free pit stop on the following lap. Desperately seeking to recover the lost ground, Piastri briefly threatened to chase down his teammate as he started closing the deficit. In a remarkable moment of frustration, the Australian suggested to the McLaren pit wall that they consider swapping the car positions back if they agreed his penalty had been unwarranted. McLaren firmly denied the request, allowing Norris to continue toward his emotional home victory. The refusal to swap positions demonstrated McLaren's commitment to letting their drivers race fairly despite the championship implications. Team boss Zak Brown and the McLaren strategists stood firm in their decision to let the results stand based on track position rather than attempting to manipulate the outcome. Norris maintained his lead through the final laps, eventually winning by almost 7 seconds. The victory made him the first British driver other than 9-time Silverstone winner Lewis Hamilton to triumph at the circuit since David Coulthard in 2000.
It's pretty incredible. Tomorrow morning is going to be the best realization moment when I wake up. I never know how to think of it, how to picture it before. I want to win here more than any other place in the world. You've always got to go out and do it.
While the McLaren drama dominated headlines, Nico Hülkenberg achieved a career-defining milestone by securing his first Formula One podium at the 239th attempt. The 37-year-old German driver set a new record for the longest time before finishing in the top 3, climbing from 19th on the grid to 3rd place in extraordinary fashion. Hülkenberg's achievement sparked emotional scenes among the Sauber team as they celebrated in Park Ferme. The Swiss outfit hadn't finished on the podium since 2012, making the moment even more special.
What a race, coming from virtually last. It's pretty surreal, to be honest. Not sure how it all happened, but obviously crazy conditions, mixed conditions. It was a survival fight for a lot of the race.
The veteran German successfully held off Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari in the closing stages, finishing a comfortable 5 seconds clear despite initial concerns that the usually faster Ferrari would eventually overtake him.
I was in denial until probably the last pit stop, but then when I heard we gapped Lewis quite a bit with the 1 extra lap, I was like, okay, this is good. This is some breathing space, Hülkenberg explained.
Norris crossed the finish line, 6.812 seconds ahead of Piastri, with Hülkenberg completing the podium in 3rd. Hamilton finished 4th for the 2nd consecutive week, extending his wait for a first Ferrari podium, while Verstappen recovered to 5th place following his earlier spin.